After 5 years of betrayal, she discovered an incredible love when a duke publicly proposed. Emily wiped the tears from her eyes as she served the steaming plates of pancakes and bacon. Familiar faces surrounded her, each with a story etched into their weathered smiles. The single mother of 5 years had learned to wear courage like armor, but some days, hope felt like a distant mirage. Her husband had abandoned her and their small house in the dead of night, trading everything she loved for a tantalizing dream that slipped through his fingers: wealth and another woman. But each shift at the cozy corner diner became a testament to her resilience. As she poured coffee, the scent tangled with memories of despair and determination. Lily, her bright-eyed daughter with a penchant for adventure, was the light that kept Emily moving forward. Community members regularly dropped off meals or helped with errand runs, a reminder that even in her darkest moments, she wasn't alone. Then Alex appeared, a gentleman with soft blue eyes and an accent that danced in the air like a playful breeze. He was looking for family roots, but soon found something deeper. He admired Emily's unwavering spirit, her love for Lily seeping through every word and gesture. Friends whispered with concern as their friendship blossomed, but the warmth of Alex's presence made Emily forget the scars, if only for a moment. As summer approached, the annual town fair loomed on the horizon. Children shouted in joy as they darted around, families came together, and memories were spun like cotton candy. Emily took Lily's hand and smiled, soaking in the laughter echoing through the fairgrounds. Their lives had bloomed in a community rich with tradition, but Emily's heart felt tethered to caution. In that moment, a hush fell over the crowd. Alex, nervously fidgeting with something shiny in his pocket, took a step forward. The energy buzzed as he knelt, heartbeat echoing in Emily's ears like a drum. The world melted around her as he held out a ring. "Emily, will you marry me?" he asked, sincerity written all over his face. Gasps echoed, and the cheers followed, filling her like sunlight after the rain. Shutters clicked, capturing the moment for history. But the whispers of doubt crept back in. Could she truly trust again? The weight of old hurts constricted her chest like a vice. Emily glanced around, her neighbors, her family looking back with hopeful eyes. The cheers mingled with the chant of her heart. Could she embrace love again, despite the bits of her that still screamed in pain? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Emily's heart raced as she wrestled with uncertainty. The shimmering ring in sunlight felt like hope mixed with fear, and she remained frozen. With the crowd's cheers ringing in her ears, she stood at the crossroads of love and the bittersweet memories that threatened to suffocate her. Could she break down those walls she had worked so hard to build? The moment, charged with emotion, teetered on the brink of change. The Ferris wheel spun above them, lights twinkling, unaware of the monumental choice Emily faced. Would she take the step toward what could be a beautiful future with Alex, or would she allow the shadows of her past to dictate her heart's next move? The crowd held its breath, a tidal wave of anticipation swirling around Emily. The bright colors of the fair faded into a muted backdrop as she searched Alex's face. He looked hopeful and vulnerable, kneeling in the dirt, surrounded by the joyful chaos of the fair. Was this the leap she needed to take? Or was it another illusion, something too good to be true? A kaleidoscope of emotions twisted inside her. She thought of the quiet nights spent alone, the weight of Lily's small hand in hers, the unspoken worries about the future. Trust was a delicate flower, and she was terrified it might wilt under the harsh sunlight of reality. What if she opened her heart again only to face another betrayal? But as she gazed into Alex's clear blue eyes, something shifted. The light in them reminded her of summer skies and whispered promises. There was a gentleness in his expression that told her he understood the struggles she had faced. "Emily," He prompted gently, his voice steady amid the rising din of the crowd. "Will you marry me?" In that moment, she remembered the kindness of her community, how they had rallied around her, how they had reminded her she was never truly alone. Maybe love could be a part of that blanket of support, a warmth to counter the cold of her past. With every heartbeat, she felt the heaviness in her chest subside a little more. "Yes." She heard herself murmur, the words spilling out like sunlight breaking through clouds. "Yes, I will marry you." The crowd erupted in cheers, their excitement echoing around her like a song. Relief washed over her, mingled with something other than fear. Was it joy? It felt foreign yet familiar, as if awakening long-dormant parts of her soul. Alex rose with a radiant smile, slipping the ring onto her finger. It glittered, catching the fading sunlight, and for the first time in years, Emily allowed herself to dream of a bright future. She felt Lily's tiny body wrap around hers, laughter bursting forth, pure and unfiltered. But as the cheers faded into the background, Emily's heart thudded with a different worry. Could she truly embrace this new chapter? Just beyond the horizon of happiness lay shadows of doubt. What did it mean to love again? As the day wore on, they moved through twinkling lights and laughter, a new family formed around the old warmth. Yet, even as she shared in the joy, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that darkness lurked just outside the light. That night, under a blanket of stars, she looked at Alex, who seemed lost in the moment, blissfully unaware of her internal struggle. He dropped an arm around her shoulder, pulling her close. "I can't believe you said yes," he whispered, and the sincerity in his voice melted another piece of her walls. As she leaned into his embrace, the question still simmered in her mind. How long would it take for her to trust again? And would Alex still see her as the woman he loved when the remnants of her past resurfaced? In that silence, she knew the journey ahead wouldn't be easy, but perhaps, it could lead them to something beautiful. Would she share her story with him, allowing him to see the scars she bore? The night air felt thick with possibilities, and as constellations shone brightly above, Emily realized that those very stars held her hopes. But a new challenge loomed at the edge of her happiness, one that could unravel everything she had just begun to stitch together. What would happen when the truth of her past came crashing through the fragile walls she had started to build? The next few days came in a flurry of excitement and disbelief. Emily felt as if she were walking through a dream, the kind where everything is just out of reach but exhilaratingly close. Lily was over the moon, jumping up and down, planning their wedding as if it were the birthday party every child dreams of. Emily found herself smiling more than she had in years, but that elusive joy kept getting interrupted by a whisper of fear. What life would they build? Would they be able to survive the shadows of her past? One afternoon, as she sat with Lily at the kitchen table, the sun streaming through the window and lighting up the cotton candy-colored walls, a thought struck her. "I should tell him," she whispered to herself, barely loud enough for Lily to hear. "What, Mommy?" Lily asked, her little hands busy cutting out paper hearts. Emily hesitated, then glanced at her daughter. "About how hard things have been, about everything that's happened before." Lily looked up, her big eyes filled with understanding beyond her years. "You mean about Daddy?" It felt like a punch to the gut. A memory surged forth uninvited: her ex-husband, the way he had shattered their world, leaving behind shards that had taken years to sweep away. "Yes, sweetheart. That, too." Emily took a deep breath, knowing she had to be brave not just for herself but for Lily and for Alex. This was no small matter. It wasn't simply sharing a story, it was exposing raw wounds, and the thought of Alex's reaction made her stomach churn. But as the days turned into weeks, the impending conversation loomed overhead like a rain cloud. Smoothing out wedding plans took center stage. They picked flowers, tasted cakes, and chose colors. But every step felt like walking on eggshells, her heart cautious, her mind racing. Finally, as they hung fairy lights in the backyard on a Friday evening, she could no longer ignore her feelings. "Alex," she called out, her voice cutting through the laughter, the string of lights still dangling in his hands, glinting like stars. He looked over, his face warm with affection. "What's up? I need to talk to you." His smile faltered, concern flickering across his features. She motioned him to come closer, and the two of them stood beneath the frail canopy of lights. "It's important," she said. Alex nodded, his expression serious now. "Is it about the wedding? Something you want to change?" "No," she shook her head. "It's about my past." The tension rippled between them. She took a deep breath, and voices faded around them as the weight of her words grew. "Before I said yes, I was scared. Terrified actually. I haven't always known happiness. I've been hurt, and I don't want to hide that from you." His eyes softened, and he reached for her hand. "Emily, you can tell me anything. I want to know you, the real you." Taking another deep breath, she plunged in, recounting the betrayal she had faced, the pain and confusion, how her heart had felt like a house left in ruins. "I didn't just lose my marriage, I lost my trust in love itself," she admitted, vulnerability evident in her voice. "I want to be with you, but I'm scared. I need you to know that I'm still healing." His grip tightened around her hand. "Thank you for sharing that with me. You're stronger than you realize, and I'm here for you, every step of the way," he said earnestly, his gaze unwavering. The warmth of his words wrapped around her, and right then, she thought perhaps she had made the right choice by allowing him to see her full self. With every confession, she could feel some weight lift off of her, yet the looming shadows still felt ever present. Still, as they stood under the glowing lights, a flicker of hope ignited within her heart. But before she could process all of it, a thought struck her: what would happen when Alex learned that her past might not be done catching up to her yet? The night felt heavy with unspoken words, a promise for both joy and difficulty lying just beneath the surface. Would this act of vulnerability strengthen their bond, or would it only introduce new challenges? Ultimately, as they stood together, she found herself wondering if sharing this part of herself would bring them closer or put their love to the test. What other truths lay buried in her past, waiting to emerge? The next morning brought a sense of clarity, the sun pouring through the kitchen window like a golden promise. Emily found herself making pancakes, the smell of syrup melding with the aroma of coffee in the air. As Lily danced around the kitchen, humming a tune, Emily's heart fluttered with both joy and anxiety. She had shared part of her past with Alex, but the deeper truth still lingered. They hadn't yet explored the darker corners of that history. She wondered how much more he could handle and if revealing everything could alter the magic they shared. Would it push him away, or would it draw him closer? After Lily left for school, Emily sat alone at the table, her mind racing. She grabbed a notebook from the drawer, the pages blank but filled with her thoughts. She started writing, trying to articulate what she needed to say. Each word and phrase helped her untangle the complex feelings swirling inside her. Suddenly, her phone rang, pulling her from her thoughts. The name on the screen made her stomach drop. Kara. Her best friend and perhaps the only person who truly understood her pain. Taking a moment to breathe, she answered. "Hey, Kara. Hey. How's my favorite bride-to-be?" Kara's voice was bright, but Emily could sense something behind it. "I'm trying to figure some things out," Emily said hesitantly. "Okay, spill it. You know I'm here for you." Taking a deep breath, Emily shared what she had revealed to Alex about her past, how it felt to unearth those memories. "I don't know if I should tell him more, about everything," she confessed. "Emily, this is a big part of you. Hiding it could build a wall between you," Kara replied, her voice steady. "Trust is built through honesty. Besides, if Alex is as great as you say he is, he'll want to know all of you." As Emily listened, she felt a mix of fear and courage swell up within her. Perhaps Kara was right, just sitting on her thoughts wasn't enough. She needed to confront her past fully and let Alex decide how to navigate through the remnants. Later that day, as she sat on the couch with a blanket wrapped around her, a text from Alex lit up her phone. Thinking of you. Can we talk tonight? Her heart raced as she typed back, yes, let us talk. There's more I need to share. When the evening approached, Emily's nerves danced in her stomach. She set the scene in the living room, lighting a few candles that flickered softly, casting gentle shadows against the wall. She took a deep breath, readying herself for vulnerability once more. When Alex walked in, the warmth in his eyes made her heart beat a little faster. He crossed the room, wrapping her in his arms. You look beautiful, he said, kissing her forehead. Thanks, she whispered, feeling a wave of safety wash over her. But the weight of her unspoken truths loomed heavy. They settled on the couch, the soft light wrapping around them like a cocoon. Emily, I've been thinking about what you shared the other night, he said slowly, his voice deep and serious. I want to be there for you, but I need to understand what you've been through. It was the cue she had been waiting for, but doubt crept in. Could she truly lay everything bare? She looked deeply into his eyes, searching for any sign of hesitation, but all she saw was patience. I need you to know about the darkest days, the betrayal, how it nearly broke me, she started, her voice trembling slightly. Words tumbled out of her, weaving a tapestry of pain and resilience that had left everlasting scars. As she spoke, she saw different emotions flit across Alex's face: sympathy, understanding, and determination. Each word felt like a catharsis, raw and healing all at once. With every story, Emily let go of the fear that had threatened to bind her. But just as she began to relax into her truth, a shadow crept through the door, a message that threatened to shatter their moment. It was from her ex-husband, and it contained a single line that froze her heart: I'm back in town, and we need to talk. The weight of her past was crashing down around her. Would everything she had built with Alex be in jeopardy now? Would he understand, or would this message unravel everything she hoped to have? She looked into Alex's eyes, anxiety twisting her stomach. In this new chapter of her life, the battle between her past and future was just beginning. But could love truly conquer the ghosts that loomed over them? Emily felt the words slip from her mouth like leaves falling from a tree, each one carrying the weight of her history. The atmosphere in the room shifted, heavy and charged. Her eyes searched for reassurance in Alex's gaze, but the shadow of that message lingered in her mind, a specter that refused to fade into the corners of her consciousness. Emily. He started, his brow furrowing as the message displayed in her hand drew his attention. What does he want? She hesitated, anticipation zipping through the air. It's from my ex-husband, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. He wants to talk. Silence enveloped them, the flickering candlelight casting waves of warmth, though the chill of her anxiety seeped in deeper. Alex's grip on her tightened, as if to send a message that she didn't need to face this alone. You don't have to answer right away, he said gently, but the urgency in his tone belied the calmness of his words. I want to. I need to, she replied, her heart racing. But I'm scared, Alex. I thought I was finally moving on. That we were building something real. He nodded, his expression softening. You are, Emily. You're not alone in this. Just tell me what you want, and we'll figure it out together. The truth was, she did want to build a new life, but the thought of facing her past felt like stepping onto thin ice. The fragile hope they had kindled was now at risk. She could feel the cracks threatening beneath her feet, threatening to swallow her whole. Taking a deep breath, she met his eyes again. I was betrayed. He lied, he pushed me into a corner where I lost myself. It took me years to claw my way back. Each confession dripped from her like honey, slow, heavy, and sweet yet painfully sticky. Whatever he wants to say, it doesn't change what we have, Alex reassured her. The warmth of his words wrapped around her, but the cold knot in her stomach didn't loosen. What if he tries to come back? What if he wants me to go back to a life I hate? The desperation in her voice unnerved her, revealing her raw vulnerability. Then you'll stand your ground. You're stronger than him, remember? His voice was firm, yet his eyes searched her face for any flicker of doubt. Emily looked down at her phone, the glaring screen a reminder of the past that had haunted her far too long. "I can't pretend this doesn't affect us," she said softly, a tremor in her voice. "Everything I've been through has led me to here, with you. But what if this is another trap? What if I fall into the same cycle? Then we'll break the cycle together," he affirmed. "What matters is that we face it now. Together." The sincerity in his voice reached deep within her, unlocking a chamber of fear and courage. She felt as if she could breathe a little easier now. But then came the thought of the looming confrontation with her ex. The bittersweet mix of dread and determination surged in her, tangled like the strands of their conversation. "I can't just ignore him forever," she mused. "Maybe this could be the closure I need. Do you want me to be there with you?" He offered, his kindness filling the void of uncertainty that still clung to her. The tug-of-war inside her raged on. She craved his support but also feared the impact it might have on their blossoming relationship. "I don't know if bringing you into this will make it better, or worse. It's complicated. Relationships are complicated. But that's part of being in this together. No matter what happens, I want to stand by you." His words wove a fabric of hope, yet the impending confrontation loomed larger than life. The truth remained, she was standing on a precipice, ready to leap into the unknown. As the evening deepened, she realized this moment was a fork in the road. Would she give in to her past, or would she find the strength to embrace the future with Alex? Taking a shaky breath, Emily glanced at her phone one more time. Maybe I should tell him I'm ready to talk. The decision felt monumental, heavy with consequence. Would it bring peace, or would it ignite ancient fires? The answers felt just out of reach, but with Alex beside her, she felt an ember of hope for a new beginning. But just as she opened the text message to respond, the room around her slipped back into silence, as if waiting for the echo of her choice to fill the void. What would she say? Would the past finally let her go, or would it drag her back into its suffocating grip? Emily's fingers hovered over the screen, the words muddled in her mind. She wanted to respond, to grab the thread of her own narrative back from the past, yet the heaviness of uncertainty anchored her in place. The flicker of the candle danced like her thoughts, restless and chaotic. "I need to say something," she finally said, her voice firm yet trembling. "I can't keep this hanging over me." Alex nodded, his gaze unwavering. "You've got this, Emily. It's your story." The encouragement nestled deep inside her, but the anxiety twisted in her stomach like a coiled spring. She could feel her heartbeat echoing in her ears as she began to type. "What should I say?" The question slipped out, almost a plea. "Be honest," he suggested, leaning closer, his presence both assuring and electrifying. "Tell him how you feel. Set your boundaries, and most importantly own your truth." Taking in a deep breath, Emily started typing, her fingers moving swiftly. Just as she began to write, the screen lit up again. "I'm here when you're ready." Her heart sank. His presence felt like a ghost, lingering with memories she was desperate to escape. "I'm not ready," she whispered, the words escaping almost inaudibly. "But how do I get there?" "Start with what you want," Alex said softly. "What do you need from him right now?" The question ricocheted in her mind. She needed to know why he wanted to talk after years of silence. Would it be an apology? An attempt to pull her back into the life she had fought so hard to escape? Or simply a recognition of the space he once occupied? "I want closure," she finally said, words rushes out like air escaping a balloon. "I want to end this chapter. I want to write my own story from here on out." "Then tell him that," Alex prompted, warmth in his eyes. "You'll face it head on." With renewed determination, Emily began to craft her message. "I'll meet you, but only to get closure on our past." Each word felt like a step further away from the darkness she had fought so hard to leave behind. As she typed, she could feel her shoulders loosening from the weight of burden that had silenced her for years. But just as she finished her thoughts, another part of her roared to life. The fear that this could backfire prickled her skin. What if he tried to manipulate her again? What if he twists my words? She gasped, her anxiety creeping back in. "I'll be right here," Alex reassured her, the sincerity of his voice wrapping around her like a warm blanket. "No one has the power to take your voice away from you again." With a deep breath, she hit send. Instantly, a wave of nausea swept through her. What had she done? Suddenly, all the courage she felt began to unravel. "I can't take it back," she murmured, her heart racing. "What if he wants more? What if he brings things up that I'm not ready to face?" "Then we tackle them together," Alex replied steadily. "You're not doing this alone anymore." The strength of his words finally grounded her, allowing the storm of emotions to settle just enough. "You're right, I'm not alone. I can do this." As they sat in the silence of what had just transpired, the tension morphed into an unspoken agreement and acknowledgement that no matter what came next, they would face it as partners. But just as a hint of relief washed over her, the phone buzzed once more with an incoming message from her ex. The words would soon test everything she had promised herself. What would he say? Would this be an apology, or a trap? Emily's breath caught in her throat as she slowly reached for her phone. The moment felt monumental, charged with possibility and fear. Could she truly handle whatever was coming next? Emily's fingers trembled as she gripped her phone. Each heartbeat echoed in her ears, a frenetic reminder of what was at stake. She felt the coolness of the screen against her palm, and for a moment, the world around her faded. The flickering candlelight cast dancing shadows, drawing her deeper into the moment. "Just read it," Alex urged, his voice a soft nudge in her frantic mind. She could feel his unwavering support, grounding her as she braced herself for the unknown. With a deep breath, Emily opened the message. The words blinked at her, taunting and familiar, yet laced with an intensity she hadn't anticipated. "I know it's been a long time. I've changed, and I hope you have too. Let us talk about us." Her breath hitched. Hope? Regret? Was this a plea or merely a rehearsed line? Memories flooded her mind, the good, the bad, the moments that had scarred her soul like tattoos she couldn't erase. "What does he mean by us?" she muttered, the bitterness in her voice startling her. Alex leaned in closer, studying her, as if trying to decipher the intensity of her reaction. "Are you okay?" he asked softly, his presence a lighthouse in a stormy sea. "No," she confessed, shaking her head. This doesn't feel right. I don't want to go back." "But what if he has changed?" Emily's heart raced at the thought of facing her past, the weight of memories pressing down on her like a heavy snow. But in the midst of her trepidation, she found herself searching for the thread of hope. It had taken years to step into the light, to unearth her own voice, and now it hung in the balance. "He might be trying to manipulate you again," Alex warned gently. "You've worked so hard to be free of that. Trust your instincts." The weight of uncertainty still loomed, but something shifted within her. Instead of crumbling under the stress, anger ignited a fire in her belly. "I can't just sit here and second-guess myself." "What do you want to do?" Alex asked, letting her take the lead. "I want to tell him that I'm not the same person he once knew. I want to let him twist my words," she stated firmly, a newfound clarity washing over her. "Then say it. Say it all." She took a deep breath and began to type. "I've moved on, and I'm stronger now. If there's nothing constructive to say, then there's no point in continuing this conversation." As she tapped each key, a sense of liberation surged within her. There was power in her words, no longer just a response, but a declaration. As Emily hit send, a rush of exhilaration coursed through her. For the first time in years, she felt like a warrior instead of a victim. Yet, before she could fully embrace her victory, another message arrived. Please, just hear me out. I've made mistakes, but I want to make things right. Her heart sank again. No apology could erase the hurt, yet the handler in her wanted to believe. Was it too late for redemption? What do you feel? Alex encouraged her, breaking through the whirlwind. I feel confused, she admitted, the weight of uncertainty creeping back in. I want to hear him, but am I prepared for the potential fallout? Follow your heart, Emily, he said quietly, leaning back, giving her the space to think. Whatever you decide, it's your truth to claim. She stared at the screen, the blinking cursor mirroring the chaos in her mind. The thread of this narrative was so fragile, could she pick it up again and weave it into something meaningful? Maybe it is time to find closure, she murmured. As she wrestled with her choices, Emily suddenly realized, this wasn't just about her past. It was about owning her future. With determination rising in her, she picked up her phone again, ready to respond. What would her next words be? A confession, an accusation, or perhaps an unexpected promise? As she began typing, the path ahead became uncertain, yet thrilling. She was ready to face whatever consequence awaited her. Would this confrontation be the end of one chapter, or the beginning of another? Emily's fingers hovered over the screen, the weight of possibility heavy in the air. She knew she needed to be brave, but each moment stretched like taffy. The flickering candlelight gave way to a stillness that grew deafening. Could she really navigate this emotional storm? With a deep breath, she slowly began to type. Fine. If you want to talk, let us meet. But this is my shot to be clear. She felt a surge of strength as she sent the message, like flicking a switch inside her. As she put her phone down, she glanced at Alex, whose expression radiated pride. That was bold, he said, a smile tugging at the corners of his lips. You're stepping into your power, Em. Maybe, she replied, uncertainty creeping back in. But what if he is still the same? What if he hasn't changed at all? Then you'll leave, and you'll be okay, he reassured her. But if you don't give yourself that chance, you'll always wonder. She swallowed hard, wrestling with the mix of emotions whirling inside her. The thought of seeing Jason again sent chills down her spine, yet there was a flicker of curiosity. What did he really want? The question buzzed in her mind like a persistent fly. Just then, her phone chimed, the notification bouncing around in her chest. Okay, I can meet tomorrow. Just want to talk things out. Coffee? Her pulse quickened. Part of her wanted to scream, to throw the phone across the room in frustration. Did he really think a simple coffee would erase years of pain? The anger seeped out like steam from a boiling kettle. He can't just waltz back in and act as if everything is fine, she said, her voice tight with emotion. Alex nodded. You can go in open but shielded. Remember, this is about you taking control. And if it gets to be too much, you can always walk away. Yeah, I'll definitely have a plan. The commitment to herself strengthened her resolve. She could be strong, yet she also needed to allow herself the chance for conversation. There were pieces of her heart, tangled and raw, that needed to be addressed. How about I come along? Alex suggested, a hopeful glint in his eyes. Just in case. Emily smiled. I appreciate it. But I think I need to do this on my own. I want to show him I'm not scared anymore. The next day, she stood in front of the cafe, heart pounding like a drum as she watched the door. Memories of better times washed over her, the laughter, warmth, and tenderness of the relationship before it all shattered. It was like watching an old movie flicker on screen, and she couldn't shake the bittersweet nostalgia. When Jason finally walked in, the breath escaped her lungs. He looked different, older, perhaps, but that familiar spark glimmered in his eyes. Emily, he spoke, and with that single word, the air filled with unspoken complexities. She steadied herself, pulling her shoulders back. This was her moment. You wanted to talk. She kept her tone even, guarding her heart as best she could. Yeah, he said, frowning slightly. "I really want to apologize for everything. I've been doing a lot of thinking." As his voice trailed off, Emily felt a surge of emotion, the urgency of what lay ahead clawing at her. This was no longer about past hurt, it was about what she could truly take away from it. Forgiveness? Closure? Or perhaps something even more transformative? Just as she prepared to respond, the door swung open again, drawing her gaze away from him. From the corner of her eye, she saw a tall figure step inside, an unexpected presence that shifted the energy in the room. Who could it be? And how would it impact the conversation she was so determined to have? The stakes were rising, and the air was thick with tension, igniting curiosity in her chest. As she turned her focus back to Jason, a million possible futures unfurled before her. Would this be the moment she found her voice, or did the mystery entering the cafe change everything? Emily's heart raced as she glanced back at Jason, who wore an expression of confusion mixed with concern. His hand moved instinctively, brushing through his hair, revealing the vulnerability she hadn't seen in ages. But before she could process this new version of him, she turned once more, focused entirely on the figure entering the cafe. The new arrival was a striking woman, her tall frame commanding attention as she walked directly to their table. Emily's breath caught in her throat. The woman had a confident air about her, dressed impeccably in a sleek black dress that accentuated her poise. There was something about her that seemed eerily familiar, adding a layer of uncertainty to the moment. "Hey, Jason. I told you I'd catch you before you left," she said, her smile dazzling, but as Emily studied her closely, the woman's eyes flickered apprehensively. Emily felt heat rising in her cheeks. Who was this woman? And why did it feel like a storm had just rolled in? Caroline, this is Emily," Jason said awkwardly, his voice faltering. Emily could sense the tension in the air as their eyes connected. "Nice to meet you," Caroline said, but her gaze rested on Jason, searching for something unspoken. "Caroline is my sister," Jason continued, his words hanging heavily between them. The revelation shocked Emily. She didn't know he had a sister, and yet here she was, thrust into a situation that felt undeniably off. Emily's mind raced, grappling with the sudden influx of emotions. Part of her wanted to flee, to escape back into the comfort of her previous life where she hadn't known of Jason's family, or the secrets they seemed to harbor. The other part, the one that had gathered courage to even come here, pushed her to stay grounded in this moment. With a practiced calm, she tilted her chin up and fixed her gaze on him. "I thought we were here to talk about us, Jason. Is that still the case?" Jason's expression shifted, concern flaring. "I wanted to apologize," but his words faltered as he glanced helplessly at Caroline, who was now watching them both with a mix of curiosity and unease. Emily felt the knot in her stomach twist tighter. Opening her heart had been an uphill battle. Did Caroline's appearance mean Jason had been holding back even more from her? "Maybe this isn't the right time," she said, her voice gaining strength with every passing word. "It feels like I'm intruding on something I'm not meant to be part of." No, that's not what I meant," Jason protested, desperation creeping into his tone. "Caroline's only here to pick up some paperwork I forgot. She didn't know I was meeting you." Emily raised an eyebrow. "So she just happens to be in the cafe at the exact moment?" Just as Jason opened his mouth to respond, Caroline interjected, "Actually, I was hoping to catch you before you did anything rash." "What do you mean by that?" Emily's heart pounded with each word. The tension in the room was electric. Jason looked flustered, glancing back and forth between the two women. Emily's pulse raced as she braced herself for what could come next. Each moment felt like a step deeper into the unknown. Could this be the defining moment in her journey? Would she finally get clarity on the truth, or was there more waiting in the shadows? As she looked at Jason, searching for honesty in his eyes, a new uncertainty washed over her. What had she stumbled into, and could this unexpected twist unravel everything she thought she understood? The air crackled with unspoken words and hesitations, and Emily knew one thing for certain: nothing in her world would ever be the same again. Emily's heart raced as she stared into Jason's eyes, feeling the very fabric of her life shift beneath her feet. The scent of coffee wafted around them, but the warmth of the cafe felt like a world away. As Jason and Caroline exchanged glances, Emily realized she wasn't just a player in this scene, she was a conductor, shaping the outcome with every word she chose. "Rash?" she echoed. "What exactly is it you think I'm going to do?" She held her chin high, letting the resolve swell within her. This was a pivotal moment, and the shaky ground beneath her wasn't going to swallow her again. Jason opened his mouth, but any words that might have tumbled out were trapped behind the weight of uncertainty. Caroline shifted beside him, her composure wavering. "Look, Jason's going through a lot. He's trying to set things right with his past, and it's complicated." Emily's heart thrummed. "Complicated for him or complicated for me? You know what I've been through," she declared, her tone firm. The truth was out there. A swirling storm of emotions filled the cafe, and she was done being a leaf in the wind. "I wanted to make amends," Jason finally said, his voice catching. "It's why I reached out. But Caroline's right, I didn't want it to end up like this." "Then let us start fresh," Emily said, shifting her focus to Caroline. "Or at least give me the respect of having this conversation without the shadow of your past looming." Caroline stepped back slightly, her expression morphing from defensive to curious. "You're right. Jason hasn't exactly been forthcoming, and you deserve clarity." Her voice softened, and Emily saw a flicker of empathy in Caroline's eyes. This was a turning point, a chance to transform the chaos into understanding. "Thank you," Emily replied, feeling strength rise from vulnerability. She turned back to Jason, who looked shaken but relieved. "What do you want to make right?" Jason hesitated, the weight of regret flickering over his features. "I've hurt you, and I know that now. I never realized how much until I lost everything. I can't change what happened, but I can offer an apology that's long overdue." His sincerity painted the air with a hush, genuine yet raw. Emily felt the tension coil and tighten, only to unravel like a ball of yarn set free. "An apology is just words, Jason," she said firmly. "What do you plan to change? How will you prove that this isn't another manipulation?" He leaned forward, intensity filling his gaze. "I want to be better, to do better. I've started therapy. I'm trying to clear the wreckage I left behind, and facing you is part of that." Their connection felt electric, a spark igniting a conversation poised to redefine their past. But doubts clawed at her. She could feel the gravity of this moment anchoring them together, yet the shadow of uncertainty loomed tall. "Why should I believe you now? Your promises were empty then," Emily challenged, the taste of sorrow bittersweet on her tongue. "We had a life, a family. You shattered it. And for what?" "Please, Emily, let me show you the person I'm becoming," he pleaded, desperation carving lines on his face. Somewhere deep inside, Emily wanted to soften, to forgive, but the remnants of past pain wrapped around her heart. "And what if this new you is just another facade?" Jason's brow furrowed, and he took a breath, resigned. "I can't prove anything in this moment. I understand that. But I can promise you, I'm done running from my mistakes." Emily considered his willingness to confront the past, yet her heart still wrestled with turmoil. The truth remained, she was moving forward with her life, and she wasn't willing to let his presence cloud her future with Alex. Before she could respond, Caroline turned to her. "Emily, if you were in his shoes, wouldn't you want a chance to make amends?" The question hung suspended, almost as if it were a mirror reflecting what she'd been through, the yearning for closure, the desire to be heard. She caught Jason's gaze again, trying to decipher sincerity from regret. "I can give you one conversation, Jason," she replied, her voice steady and firm, "but this isn't an invitation back into my life. It's a chance for me to finally close this chapter." He nodded, his expression solemn. "I understand, and thank you. That's all I ask. A sigh of relief tinged with uncertainty passed through her, as she began to feel the weight of her own power rise. She could shape this moment into something healing, a stepping stone toward finally defining her own story, free from the chains of the past. The intensity of their conversation drew the attention of other cafe patrons, but in that moment, it felt like the world had faded, leaving only the three of them suspended in their own emotional space. "Emily," Jason began, voice steadying, "I'm sorry for the pain I caused and for not being the husband you deserved. I can't change the past, but I want to take responsibility for my actions." Each word landed as an offering, a breadcrumb leading her closer to release. Yet, she could feel Caroline's curious gaze burrowing into her side, reminding her this was a public stage, one where she no longer felt like a victim, but rather, a protagonist reclaiming her narrative. "Let's just focus on honesty and clarity," Emily affirmed, drawing in a breath. "You're seeking forgiveness, and I'm seeking closure. But no matter what happens here, I can't let our history bind me anymore." With that, a long-lost sense of balance began to emerge. Emily found herself relishing both fear and exhilaration. She was reclaiming her power, in control of her emotions and choices as she crafted what would come next. "From here on," she started, punctuating her thoughts with clear intent, "this is about me letting go, taking the steps to healing for myself and for Lily. And from this moment, I promise that I will no longer let anyone's past dictate my future." As she looked from Jason to Caroline, she could feel clarity blooming like a flower unfurling under sunlight. And though she did not yet know what lay ahead in her life with Alex or in her evolving relationship with Jason, she felt fiercely determined to break free, starting today and for a brand new tomorrow. The emotional weight lifted just enough to allow space for hope, and Emily knew it was only the beginning of something beautifully transformative. As she left the cafe, stepping out into the sunlight bright and vibrant, she took a deep breath, ready to navigate both the challenges and joys this new chapter would bring. And in that decisive moment, Emily understood, she would no longer be defined by her past, but by the courage she summoned to embrace the journeys ahead. She could finally move forward. Now, more than ever, it was time to step into her future, leaving behind the shadows that had once threatened to obliterate her light. Emily turned to the side, ready to embrace whatever awaited her, buoyed by her own resilience. This was her story, her truth, and her time. And as the world opened up before her like a glorious sunrise, she knew this was the moment where everything changed. You need to subscribe now to be part of this journey and uncover the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help share this inspiring tale. Comment below your thoughts, reactions, and feelings about Emily's transformative journey. Share instantly this chapter with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to support. Remember, only true fans know the importance of lifting each other up through these actions.